Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa and
Colette Tracy
here on CNBC News, NBC News, and NBC Sports radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5. Sorry, we've got a stronger 106.5 channel now. I was just telling Polly how I remembered how to do that last week. And then flubbed it. Oh, well. And also on all the platforms streaming, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, JioSaavn, Spreaker, Tiki Live, Rumble, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your hashtag positively opinionated host. And today is Monday, and every other Monday I have this wonderful series. I just started calling it, and see how this hits you, Colette, Real Women Talk. Mm-hmm. And I thought, because we keep it real and we say things authentically, and we're just playing around with that. I think the other one was Aging Women Matters, or Beautiful Aging Women Matters. But I think I like Real Women Talk, because we don't have to, because I am ageless, you're ageless, and all of that. But we do talk about real things, and we had a great show last 2 weeks ago on self-image, body image. If you missed that, not only am I streaming on all platforms, but YouTube is the house. And there's a special playlist now with Colette and I, so you can go straight to those shows if you want them, or you could just look at the 778 shows now, can you believe it, over the last 9 years that have been just a blessing. And I'm so grateful. You'll notice I'm at a different background. I'm at my brother's house in Toronto, Ontario, broadcasting live, seeing what we can do so that I don't have to resort to pre-recordings and replays. So we're trying this, and so far so good. I'm glad that you're here. Welcome again to Colette, and we're going to start the way we normally do, which is with taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And it's an exercise that I like to start pretty much every show with, so that I help you exercise your muscle of self-approval, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people are just miserable. Because if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you think other people will approve of you? So Colette, having breakfast with me this morning, I'll let you start. 8 specific gratitudes between the two of us, and you have to be specific. So what is something that you're grateful for, Colette?
Well, I hope this is specific enough, but my life, for sure.
Okay. And I'm grateful that I get to broadcast remotely from Toronto, Ontario. Go ahead.
I'm grateful for waking up today and every day.
I'm grateful that Colette and I have a platform to talk about things that matter to women in particular. I mean, this is good for men as well, but a platform that we can be real and find solution.
Okay. I am grateful for laughter.
Definitely. I'm grateful that laughter is my favorite sound on the planet. And there wraps up the top of the bun. On the bottom of the bun is appreciation. And you actually do this before you go to bed. So instead of thinking about all the things that didn't go right in the day, or who did you wrong, or who insulted you, you are purposeful in what you think about before you go to La La Land. And specifically, things that you appreciate about yourself. Things that appreciate about yourself. And I'm going to do a little switch today, Colette, because I can. and I also want to combine it into a compliment session, because I don't think we appreciate or compliment each other enough. So
that is a beautiful idea.
Thank you. I'm going to appreciate you and then you can appreciate me, and we'll go for 4 and 4. And if you're with someone right now in the car as you're listening on the way to wherever you're going, then you can do the same thing. What do you appreciate about the person in the car with you? So I appreciate that Colette is a great leader in thought. She's not shy about what she believes, and she's in that place of caring in order to help people. How's that? That was like 3 compliments right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Marissa. Well, I would say what I appreciate about Dr. Marissa is she's a very sophisticated woman, but she has the ability to make people feel so comfortable with her. There's just this aura, there's this spirit about you that it just really is calming.
Share. And then the last one, what do you appreciate about yourself? So that we get that in there. I appreciate that I know who I am, and I know whose I am.
Beautiful. I would say I think my work ethic, I think that kind of sets me apart in some ways because it's just very important to me. Whatever I choose to work on, whatever I choose to be involved with, it's very important to me. So that's where my work ethic comes in.
Beautiful. And there you have it. That was Breakfast with Dr. Marissa and Colette Tracy. Thank you for playing along. And you can do this for 30 consecutive days. I promise you, if you do have that blisscipline, then you will have much better days. That's what the law of attraction teaches us, which works like the law of gravity. It works whether you believe it or not. What you focus on grows bigger. So if you start your day with gratitude, end your day with appreciation, then your life in between just cannot help but be on a path to 88% happy. All right. So today's topic is a super important one because I'm living it right now. It's called, I actually coined this term myself. I call our generation the shock absorber generation. And the reason why I call it that is, we were sort of on the baby boomer, but not on the baby boomer. And then parents of the Gen whatever, and then towards millennial and all of that. So we've got what the top of the car is our parents and elder care. And on the bottom are the squeaky wheels, or also known as children, who have normal desires and not just desires, but it's your responsibility as a parent to provide and help your children grow, even though a lot of the times the children help you grow in things like patience or tolerance or caring. But so that feeling of being squished, especially when shift happens. And so for those of you who just tuned in and you've not been on my show before, or you didn't hear it last week, the reason why I'm in Toronto today is because my mother went to the hospital, and I was going to come in October to throw a 88th birthday party, because you know that 8 and 88 are very special numbers to me. It's a homophone for good fortune in Chinese. And unfortunately, she got up in the middle of the night, which she knows she's not supposed to do, but she has hallucinations from the Parkinson's side effects from the pills. And so she sees bugs on the floor and wants to sweep them, and she can barely walk. And so she fell, broke 2 ribs in her chest, half the lung collapsed, fluid got in. They were draining the fluid with a chest tube that she continued to pull out. Yesterday, she pulled out her IV when I was in the bathroom. So there's this lapse in logic for her. And then they cleared the fluid. Everything looked good. She went back, and her PSW saw that her wound was leaking, so she ended up having an infection where the chest tube was, and then it got sepsis, fluid back in the lungs,
my
and
God.
pneumonia. And last Tuesday, my brother FaceTimed, and we didn't think she was going to make it through the night. And the soonest I could get out here was Saturday because of another long story I'm not going to tell about my passport. But I did get here, and I did get to see her yesterday. I was there all day, and I'll be there after the show again every day this week and get to spend time with her. And physically, she's doing better. There's only a little fluid left, but mentally, when I first went in, she said, "There's a man trying to kill me," and he grabs my arm, and then asked uh, if I could get the white dress that she wants to be buried in. And so it was a tough day yesterday, but this obviously elder care is very close to me right now. Child care for me, my kids are out of college. The second one just finished, so I'm not in that space where some moms are, where they've got younger children and have to deal with that, and older parents. So what this show today, I want to focus on. Obviously, I'm qualifying with the problem, and as Colette so kindly says, I'm relatable. So I'm giving you the truth of what I'm going through, and I'm going to let Colette do the same. And then we're going to focus on Happy 88 tools, and of course, Colette is an expert in this process. She's the author of Both Sides Now. So we're going to focus on solutions so you can find some relief. So if you know anybody who's in this situation now and feeling a little overwhelmed or banged up as the shock absorber, then have them tune in. Go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Marissa Pay. It's the one that's on live right now. Free subscribe, and then you can chat. Also, LinkedIn. We're live on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been a great. Colette actually has been a great. She's been tuning into my other shows and commenting.
Love it.
And I can put your comments on the screen. So, Colette, take it away.
All right. Well, Dr. Marissa, I had my own situation with my parents, and just doing a little research too on what happens. They also call us the sandwich generation. But looking at between 45 and 56 years old is kind of where some of these changes take place. And that was very true for me. But the thing is, there are emotional things involved as well, besides for the tactical things, right? At the time my parents got sick, I was, my youngest was 8 years old. My oldest was in high school. But I was in the midst of my life. I was in my, I want to say now, looking back, probably mid 40s. And because it was about 13 years ago. And, at that, we have certain expectations for certain times of our lives. And at that range, I remember really feeling like I should have it all in place now. Everything should be kind of smoothed out the way I want it, the way I planned. And of course, it's not that way. And then the parents start getting older and the relationship changes, right? But aside from the relationship and the emotional sides of it, for me, my husband had just started a new job. And my kids were in school. I was working full time. I was teaching part time. I was right in the thick of it. And I know that I was disappointed because I couldn't really take care of my parents the way I wanted to. And fortunately, though, for us and our family, my sister, my brothers, but my sister really played a large role in taking care of my parents and my nieces and things like that. But it was hard for me too, because I really wanted to be there. And I had the expectation all my life, like I was going to be there in the end to have them live with me or take care of me. And it was a financial matter, really, for me at the time, not just the busyness. But I think that, that even though my parents understood to a large extent, I think they were very disappointed that, I couldn't be there. And I was there, but just couldn't be there all the time, like my sister was. And that was very hard on me. And, I think when we look at the emotional side of what happens, that was the really hard side too, because all those years I had been close to my mom and dad, especially my mom. I talked to her every single day, at least once a day, right? I'm a nice Italian girl. Italian girls are close to their moms. But we had a very close relationship. And it was hard for me because she used to just give me a lot of insight and direction and in her own way, and just being that actual port in the storm, right? When my mom got sick and then a year later my dad passed away, she changed. She really had no idea of talking anymore, being the same person. So it's very lonely because you're taking over the role as the parent, right? And then your parents are you're like your child, right? So I think the part of that it was the most difficult for me, and what I've read too from actually there was an article that I was reading about that talked about how it's from DignityMemorial.com, but how it's so difficult for adult children to deal with that, because we don't like to talk about it. We feel like, oh, at this stage I should be well beyond that. I'm the parent, I'm this, I'm that. But the aloneness kind of sometimes the way you feel when they're gone. But I think one of the things that I brought up in my book, and I'm a firm believer, is I had my mom pass, my dad pass away, my mom and my brother. But in the whole time of that period, we were able to find some joy. You know, Dr. Marissa, I saw one of your posts on LinkedIn about you were playing piano for your mom. And I thought that was just amazing, because we would have those days. It was just different. It was just different. Instead of mom and dad making dinner or in doing this, we would go and sit and watch their favorite shows with them and talk with them and laugh about things. So I think it's very important to maintain the joy in that too, because life is full of, what Susan Cain eloquently calls bittersweet, right? So yeah, and that's kind of the way I felt about it.
Great. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought up that balancing point, because, people knew that I was going through this with my mom. And, I'm very active on social. I've always been, and it's part of my work and maintaining the positive reputation that I have, which is my brand. And when, I had to stop myself even posting something that was funny or posting something that was, unrelated. And I think this is the tool I want to bring a couple, actually, because I'm thinking about it right now, and I'll forget if I'll say it later. But one is, just because in one area, either the top of your car or the bottom of your car is going through something that is sad and painful, or confusing or worrying, even though Native Americans saying worry is a prayer for bad things to happen. So we don't want to be in worry very long. 16 seconds is the max, because we don't want to bring that to us. But there's nothing wrong with being happy when this is all going on. I mean, when I'm with my mom and she's hallucinating, I'm sad. When I see that thing about, you have to do diapers when your kids are babies, and then you have to do diapers when your parents are losing control or losing their faculties, and it's not fun, and it's not something you look forward to or like when you're going through it. But at the same time, the second tool here is remember them whole. And you had mentioned, when I sit with my mom now, Mom, do you remember when da 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 da? And so often we I call it, you get purposefully maudlin. You drive yourself into this horrific place by not taking an 88,000 foot look at everything. And you know, my mom had an amazing life, continues to have, you know, the memories and all the things that she's had in this thing called life. And to talk about that is so important, and to conjure and purposely turn our focus to it. And the biggest tool is to not feel guilty. Not feel guilty. So I'm going to coach you on that one. I think you don't need it because you know the self-talk that you do, but I absolutely know that nothing happens, you know, for no good reason. There's always a good reason, and sometimes we just don't see it. And yesterday, one of the women that came to clean, and she, you know, no accident. I told her who I was, and she said, "Oh, my mom." And I recognized her accent because I've been to Ghana before. And she said, "Yeah, I was not able to be there for my mom when she was dying, and she went back to Africa, and I couldn't get there because I had little kids. And every time I see one of the patients with their daughters, I get so sad, and I'm so angry with myself. And I just and I just did a whole treatment with her and said, you know, I'm here to tell you there's nothing to feel guilty about. And this is the last day you're going to feel guilty about this, because your mom knows and loves you and understands. And even if, you know, the messages weren't there, you did the very best that you could with the time you had and the resources you had." And I'm telling her, and I'm telling you, and that feeling of self-criticism and I should have done more, or why, you know, that's not the way I wanted it. No, that is the BS, the belief system that you've done something wrong is not useful. It really isn't useful. So next time that thought comes in, you know, I'm glad I was able to blank, 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 blank. So you know, I have the same thing. My brother lives close by. I live in California. I did try to get her to go to the States and be closer to me, but at the time I was going through this very expensive divorce that I had to pay for, and I didn't. You have to have a certain amount of funds to be able to bring your parents over.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't feel guilty about that. No matter how much people try to make me feel guilty about that, I don't feel guilty about that, you know. And that's my work, right? So the same goes for you.
Yeah, that is so healthy, Dr. Marissa, because, you know, I really, the original plan was that, of course, they would move in with me. And it was a financial constraint. My husband had just started the job, and we needed, you know, all the financial support we could. So I really had to balance between there. And I don't think it was horrible. What I think, you know, I still had my mom over after my dad passed, like, you know, every other weekend she stayed with us and things like that. But it's just one of those things that when you play out in your mind how you think it's going to be, right? Because a lot of times we have these preconceived notions of what life should look like. We get to a certain age, we realize, hey, that, you know, that's mostly not the case. But it was really, really difficult in that. But just to really focus too on the joy. You know, I think that, and one of the things I really try to drive home in my book is that, you know, life is full of those kinds of things. You know, especially as we get older, right, there's a lot of potential loss, okay, at least, right? There's a lot of potential change at best. And if we focus on the negative side of our lives and not the positive, then we're missing out. I'm not saying you don't, like you say, you feel the grief when you need to feel the grief, but you feel the joy whenever you can. Okay. You take your responsibilities, you take the loss, and you feel bad. But in the meantime, you find these moments that you're together with them. And even my brother, you know, I was there through his whole illness. I was there a lot. I was able to have more flexibility during that time. And I would just remember how, like for his 60th birthday, he had cancer and he knew it wasn't that good, but he had a big party at Wrigley Field, and we all were having at the baseball game, having a great time, or just sitting and talking and laughing like we would if we were together in a social situation, even in the midst of being sick like that. And then having moments where he felt good and could talk. So I think we need to focus on that,
Yes.
Yeah, especially as when we're aging.
Absolutely. If you've just tuned in, and I just brought in my beautiful Instagram peeps. Hi, Queen Bonita and Mortez. Thanks for joining. We're talking about tools or solution for any people who are feeling like a shock absorber. That's my term, more commonly referred to as a generation. So it's a sandwich generation. Your top of the sandwich, I don't know what's in the middle, if we're a slab of meat or peanut butter and jelly, but I like to call it a shock absorber because the main part of the car is your parents, the bottom squeaky wheel is your kids, and you sometimes feel like you are just completely squished and you don't know where to turn and you don't have time to even regroup before somebody else needs something. And that is a real happiness stealer, and it blocks your happiness. And so we're coming up with some tools and techniques and BS belief systems to encourage you to self-care and self-love. So if you have any comments, please go to the YouTube channel or Facebook or LinkedIn, where you can type. And I'm keeping my eye on the Instagram, although I may have to shut it down real quick because every time we do this, it competes with the feed. But I am streaming live from Toronto, Ontario. I'm here because I'm actively working on the top of my car, which is my mom. She's in the hospital right now. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this very affirming, life affirming and happiness affirming talk on Real Talk with Dr. Marissa and Colette Tracy here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. My name is Dr. Marissa Pei. For the next 28 minutes, we will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. Just follow the sound of my voice and move with me as I guide you through this ancient wisdom through New Thought practice. As a corporate psychologist, I created this practice in response to my life and those of my clients. We were professional, high achievement-oriented, multitasking control freaks and exhausted. No matter how many successes, it was never enough. That, coupled with a painful life experience, led me on a quest to find another way to live and back to my Chinese roots. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes. Body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace the way we were created. 谢谢.
Be my partner, dance with me, just hold on, I will.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa and
Colette Tracy.
here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and my YouTube channel, where you can make comments right now as we are speaking. You can chime in and or offer your own situation or solution. So we are happy to entertain you that way. We are talking about the shock absorber generation. We have the main part of the car that is weighing heavy on us, elder care, and then the bottom of the car, the squeaky wheels. Mom, I need this. Mom, can you do that? And that's the bottom part of our car, and what it feels like to be squished in between, and how we can alleviate and go get a tune-up. You're here getting a balanced tune-up. You're balancing your life tires with Colette Tracy and Dr. Marissa. So during the break, did you have any additional thoughts?
Yes, I did.
Doctor.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I thought about my dad when his mom, my grandma, passed away. And I remember a conversation, like it was yesterday. My dad was at the hospital all night and came home very early in the morning. And I was like 12 years old at the time. And my family was, the whole family was there. And they were asking him, how he felt. And one of the things that he said back then was that, when you do right by someone, you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel guilty when they're gone. And I think that's true. But I think we all have to really kind of empower ourselves to feel that way, because we can't, like Dr. Marissa, you talked about other people maybe making you feel guilty or in their way, trying to bring that home to you. I think it's like everything else. And the things that we're trying to really teach here is that, what do you think of what you did? Are you honest with yourself? Did you do the very best that you could? Do you know you did the best that you could? If you can answer those questions, then like you say, it should be that you have peace with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it all kind of comes from within.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Let's I want to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of elephant in the room, specifically about elder care. And I know I'm from a culture where parents have the expectation. I think Italians are the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other cultures where you are expected to have your parent live with you in the sunset of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a real, because I'm first generation born in Canada, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that my cohorts from this era struggle with that expectation that parents have, and the reality of, maybe spouses who say, no, your mother is not coming to live in our house, or just your own. I can't, maybe I didn't have a great relationship with my parents or my mother or my dad. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. And the only time you don't have mother issues is when you're born and when you die. So,
right.
So,
so true.
For whatever reason, I know that there's that split, and it definitely blocks your happiness. So every time you think about it, you don't feel good about it in whatever way. And my advice, I use this as an analogy in Happy 88 coaching, is there's many different doors in front of you, and your job, and there's no perfect door. So every door has, some things with one thing off or two things off. Your job is not to go through the door that has knives sticking out of them, so you impale yourself going through that door. Like, the stupid thing would be to, not work, not do anything, go 100% take care of whoever needs taken care of, and you have no life. That is absolutely skewering yourself. That's not what life's about. But whether you decide to, for the balancing of all of the components of your life, it makes most sense to blank mother-in-law thing in the back, or in the house, or at a home, or whatever that decision is. You are smart enough to know that you've weighed your pros and cons and you made the best decision that you could at the time with what you knew. So have I done the best that I can with the time that I have and the resources I had? I made that decision. The worst thing now is once you make that decision, because my brother and I went and looked at a lot of different places for my mom when she, got Parkinson's and she couldn't take care of herself. And the option of moving in with either one of us was not doable. And so both of us didn't talk about the guilt, but I know that we both carry some of that Chinese, but we should have brought her into the home. But we found a beautiful place for her. And, she's not happy most of the time, but that was true before that happened. And so it is my job to remind myself whenever I have that critical voice saying, well, you should have blah, 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 is no, I did the best that I could. Thank you very much for the criticism, but it is not true. In this particular case, it's not true. And you're not helping me. So as much as we can protect ourselves from our own critical voice, it will help us balance out all the competing things. The second thing is I have this order. God, who I call my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. So higher power, whatever you want to call, higher power, self, and then others. Because when I put my mom or my dad or my children or my work ahead of me, or clients ahead of me, I will fall apart. I have to put it, source or that power outside of myself that's always conspiring for me, never against me, then me, which is what you're not taught. You're taught to be don't be selfish, take care of everybody else first. Then you're like done. You don't have anything left, like the oxygen mask. And then others. So if you're constantly putting everybody else's needs ahead of your own and you're not getting enough sleep, you're eating bad food, you're not going for a walk, you're not doing things that make you smile and laugh. If you're scrolling every day because you're in paralysis, because it's perfectionism, procrastination. I've always wanted to be a procrastinator, but never got around to it.
I love
and
that.
then paralysis. And that's the normal thing. If you're trying to be the best daughter in the world or the best mother in the world, you're on a road to expectation hell. Because you cannot be perfect at either one of them. And so this is where that 88% pretty darn good comes into play. So that's my real talk.
Yeah, I think you're so spot on because lots of times we have perfection expectations for ourselves, and we really we have to get out of that because we are just constantly chasing our tail and never feeling satisfied, and then starting to really self-neglect. So I think there has to be a balance. The other thing I wanted to say that you were saying about you and your brother and being, Chinese American and feeling bad and your culture. And I can relate to that because, everything's family in Italian and in the Italian culture. But you know what I found help too was my sister and I. My sister has supported me a lot because I've said, and we've supported one another because eventually near the end of my mom's life, we did have to put her in a nursing home for, I think it was 8 or 9 months. And that was hard on both of us. But, we made the best of that. We were there. She was there. I want to say like every day. It was very close to her home. And I was there a couple times a week. And we took that time that we could be together and we had fun with it, even with my mom. That way, because my sister couldn't handle her anymore. And, I neither could I, as far as physically, so she had gotten to, and I know that really upset my mom. But the whole thing is, I think that to have support in your life, okay, even if even if it's not your partner, it's a friend, a colleague, someone who supports you to talk about those things, because that's been very important with my guilt and things. And, my sister even said to me, which was really nice, is that, but you know what, Colette, you had the earlier years with mom and dad. You were constantly there. You were constantly taking them places. You were constantly with them. And she said, it's kind of like we leveled out towards the end. I took my turn and did what I needed to do. But again, it's really all about how you look at things. What is your lens that you're looking at it from? And, sometimes I think when I was a younger woman, I used to think everything should just be all right in my mind naturally. I don't want to have to tell myself these things, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with consciously and deliberately trying to take a look at it in a different way to help yourself, because at the end of the day, and I think I probably said this last week, and I say it again. I've told my kids that, like, at the end of the day, what you feel about you is the most important thing, because that will either give us a good view of our lens of the world or skew the view.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep that straight. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So seeing seeing yourself as 88% fabulous, and we've talked about this before, and then 12% of the time you step in it. And those are the times when sorry is useful, and cutting yourself some slack is useful, and giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. So, but if you're feeling like you are getting bruised or banged up by top and bottom, the first thing to do is not blame and really look, the buck stops right over here. And, I put the commercial up about the balanced Tai Chi Gong because that is a practice that anybody can do. And it all just starts with the breath. So as soon as you're feeling overwhelmed of any kind, instead of picking up a phone and calling somebody and ranting and raving, or going to the fridge, or going, into the, scrolling and filling yourself with useless information, just stop, put your feet on the ground, palms up in your lap, and take that first breath in through the, let's do it now. So we've already talked about things riling people up, so we might as well practice. In through the nose and release. Soft shoulders, soft elbows, soft knees. And that activates the physical body with your breath, chi, eternal energy. Another breath in. And releasing all the stories and the drama, activating the mind, the head, and the emotions. And final breath in. And releasing, connecting with chi, eternal energy, the breath of life that connects us all. And knowing that everything is going to be okay. And when you're ready, come back to the room. And just that took what? A minute? Do you feel better? Yeah, I feel better. I love my work because what I do actually helps me first and most. So that's
wonderful.
But yeah, and if you have problems sitting still with meditation, today's Asian Oprah giveaway is go to drmarissa.life, and I will give you a download of that 28-minute practice that will help you, find the balance. Because the truth is, we are the boss of our own balance. No one can give. If you say to your husband, your significant other, your insignificant other, if you say, I'm drowning, you need to help with, it's still never going to be enough. If one single thing, if you make up your mind to not be your own worst critic, to not be so hard on yourself, it doesn't have to be a perfect meal. It doesn't have to be a perfect lunch. It doesn't have to be a perfect visit. It doesn't have to be a perfect whatever it is. It can be 88% good and fabulous. You don't have to go to the other extreme where, you don't do anything. That's the problem. As perfectionists, I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. We think that if we're not this driven, crazy, always doing something, do this, do that, do this, do that, end up in doo-doo, If we don't do that, then we're going to end up being a lazy, end up, homeless, working, no job. That's such bullshitaki. There's a balance between craziness and nothing. The balance is 88% of the time we are great. We do the best that we can. We work hard. We do, and even working hard is overrated. Law of attraction is I coach in that. It's a way of my life that I know that when I focus on good things, more good things come to me. So we don't have to look at everything as a problem to be fixed. It's just a question to be answered. So hopefully we're answering that question. If you've just tuned in, you're wondering who the lovely woman to my left or right is, depending on how you're looking at the screen. Her name's Colette Tracy, professor, teacher, author of Both Sides Now. She is my sensual woman, ageless expert on the show. This is Real Talk with Dr. Marissa and Colette Tracy. Hope you're enjoying. You could feel free to write your comments. Like, thanks for the eyeballs rolling in. I see the thumbs up. So as usual, I think we are, let's see, good. We have 9 minutes left. Usually when I look, there's only 2 minutes left. Colette, what would you say to women who are just feeling so overwhelmed that they just want to leave home, leave town, and go check it themselves in for a voluntary a 5150 because they've just reached their limit? What do you say to them?
I would say take the time for yourself. Take some time for yourself. When you feel that way, you have to have a break one way or another. And I think people who are perfectionists, as women are, want to be everything to everybody. We have a really hard time letting other people down, right? Because we feel that sense of we need to take care of things because people are depending on us. That's a beautiful thing. But when you are depending on you to take a breathing space, do what you need to do. Just do it. I was always go, always one of those people. And I work from home a lot now. And if I feel tired, after lunch, I'm taking a little nap, right? I would never have done that before because I would have felt like, oh my God, I'm wasting my time. But you really need to take care of yourself because literally you cannot help someone else unless you have taken care of yourself. So I would say find a way. Find a way. Yeah.
And I do have clients who say, well, I take a break and then I get blamed for not being there for someone and missing something out. And I'd like to comment on that is we have these unrealistic expectations of what we can accomplish. I mentioned this on last Friday with Cynthia Kahi that we think that we can do the full-time job and be on partner track or whatever over, get the awards track and be the perfect mom and have perfect children and be perfect daughter for our parents and be there and all that and perfect. And then every hamster wheel, comes with another hamster wheel. And I guess the analogy is, have you ever tried to chase one rabbit and then you add 2 rabbits? And then if you're multi whatever, you've got 8 rabbits. What are you going to, of course, you're not going to catch any rabbits. You're not going to be able to deal with that because you've just taken too much on. And if you're a person who has an issue with saying no, the exercise that I give you is every 5th thing, no matter what it is, you have to say no. And it's so difficult because, we just have this tendency, I can do that. Now, what was it you wanted? I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And I would ask you to look inside. Why are you a people pleaser? Because basically, if you can't say no, you're a people pleaser. Why? I have an internal people pleaser. I call her Penelope. And she has to say no every 5 requests, no matter what it is, because we're trying to make people happy. And that is a never ending bad journey because someone can be happy 9 out of 10 times. And then we focus on the 10th time when they said something ugly because they weren't happy. It's got nothing to do with you, boo. But we grow up thinking that we have the power to make people happy or make people sad. And the bottom line here, folks, is I am the boss of my emotion. And if I tell my kids, you know what? You don't have to make me happy. I have to make myself happy. You do whatever you want. They would probably die. Because, don't do that. It's pissing me off. That's very natural. But the law of attraction, again, the power of our ability to take responsibility for our actions and our reactions is the ticket to a really fulfilling and powerful life. And that's what I want. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that our generation, and I identified with this too, is I want to have it all, be it all, do it all. But one of the things that Oprah said, speaking of Oprah, is that you can have it all, but not at the same time. And you have to recognize what stage of life you're in. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I have a lot of passions, and God bless, things I still want to do, right? Things I one thing after another, but I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself first. And I can fit that in to my life. There's a lot more, honestly, that I can fit into my life now than I could 10 years ago, right? Because my kids are older, and the kids have to be, they have to be the priority. Even though I always worked, I didn't push myself as hard. I waited till they got a little older to get back into management and things like that. So, but I think that we can have it all, but I think we can't do it all, be it all, have it all at one time.
Very good point from my honorable moniker, Oprah, for sure. Yeah. And for those of you who see that Asian Oprah for the first time, I don't call myself that. I was actually introduced to Oprah as the Asian Oprah by Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, the founder of Agape International Spiritual Center. So just in case you were wondering, but we are out of time. Basically, I just got the 3-minute warning from Polly about 3 minutes ago. So I really love this discussion. How do we get in contact with you, Colette, if further that conversation or get a hold of your book?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can get the book through Amazon. I also have something new with Amazon. It's called Kindle Vella stories, which are much more condensed than a regular size chapter. So for people who like to read snippets at a time, 5-10 minutes, you're done with the chapter. And that is called The Best of Both Sides. And it's really an extension to some of the things I talked about in the book, and some new things that came up through the workshops. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds great. So that's it for today's show number 778, I believe. Here up, Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa and
Colette Tracy.
It's Real Talk. She's here in 2 weeks on a Monday again. Tomorrow, tune in. I've got Kathy Baccio. She's one of the producers originally from Access Hollywood, talking about back to school ideas. It's Small Business Week. I have Mr. Hickey from Verizon again. So we've got a great show tomorrow. Tune back in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. It's all about balance. Ready? Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever.
Thanks, everybody.